Does everyone hear me? Okay. Well, what an audience. I feel like Fabien. It's been more than 1 year since last time that I went to the stage to present the new feature in human resource. And it was in the other auditorium, so it was a little bit frightening because you never know who is listening to you. And now that I've got a full stage just listening to me, I think that it was maybe better. But I will try to stay confident and to show you all the beautiful stuff that we've made this year. So I'm Geoffrey Margraf, I'm the product owner of all the human resource application, and I share the stage with Quentin Célis, our HR expert.
Hello everyone.
Today we will make a quick round of all our apps. We will have a Q&A session in the end. I'm not sure we will have the time. If not, don't worry, there is an Ask Me Anything session on 3 o'clock. I think that we can start. What do you think?
Let's go.
Okay, first thing first, we start with recruitment, because in every employee process, you need to hire them, you need to find them. So I will try to find for every of our app a little catchphrase, a little sentence to illustrate what we wanted to tackle this year. In recruitment, it will be solving issues, because for the recruiters, and I know there are some of them in the room, you can have a lot of time that you lost on every applicant because you want to have the perfect data, you want to have a full set of data, but it takes time, too much time. So we worked on that, and we improved the skills management system on 2 ways. We improved the skills library, and we had a lot of efforts on the OCR system. But a demonstration is better than talking, so I'm letting Quentin showing you.
Thank you, Geoffrey. So let's go to the Odoo database here, and actually skills management is something we've introduced last year into the recruitment application, and it was the only missing part of the puzzle in terms of skills management. That is a transactional app across all over our apps of HR. And so what we wanted is to be able to make sure that last year we could already create and encode the skills at the recruitment level, make sure that they are automatically sent to the employee when you create the employee, and that you can update them easily thanks to your appraisal application. Now what we wanted to do this year is to be able to actually give you an easy way to have a skill of library that is ready to use out of the box. And that's why here in this screen, you've got more than 80 skills that are already present. When you install the skills management feature, you've got all the list of these skills. They are split into 5 main categories. So you've had IT, languages, marketing, programming languages, and also soft skills. But the skill library actually has a role to play in the OCR feature that I will show you right after. And so that's why I want you guys to understand that it's important that you tailor the skills of library according to your company's needs. Yeah. So Geoffrey, do you see something that we should add?
It's too easy, it seems too easy. Let's add a new one, like copywriting in marketing.
Yes, so for that I'm going here, I'll just edit this skill type. I'll type copywriting here. And as you can see below the screen, you've got also different levels. Of course, you can adapt them, but what's important in this screen is the fact that you've got also the default level. And the default level is the one that will be used by the OCR in order to set this level as it detects the skill in the resume of the applicant. So now let me go to a job position. And here, let's say that I want to create a new candidate for the marketing position here. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating my candidate, and I will add the resume of, let's say, key and demo here. And now that I'm adding it, actually the CV is being sent to the OCR. And last year we introduced the feature, but it was only able to detect the applicant's name, the email, and the phone number. Now, here, let's refresh the screen and see what happens in terms of skills management. And as you can see, you've got all the skills that are present in the resume and that are detected automatically here in the skills configuration. So now my job is done. Just a few seconds to encode all of that. Imagine if you have hundreds of CVs.
Yeah, it's a huge game of time. Before going further, maybe Does everybody hear us well, or do you want us to speak a little bit louder? Yes, it seems so. Okay. That was for the skills management. Another point that we wanted to make stronger is if you're using the full flow in Odoo, it's the offer management. Like you can see before, it was already possible to send an offer, and it was a salary link that was copied on the recruitment chatter. It's good, but like most of the time we can do better. And now the offer is becoming a strong model, and with a strong model we can have more visibility, more security, and we can have a better reporting. And that's why we want to show you.
Yes, so indeed, one of the main differentiation factors in Odoo compared to traditional applicant tracking system is the fact that we were able for years now already to generate an offer directly from the candidate. But let's say that we want to go further with the interview process and with the recruitment process overall with Key and Here. Now let's say I want to make a contract proposal. As you said, Geoffrey, when I generate the offer, before it was actually logging the information in the chatter of the candidate. Now what you see here is the normal screen we already used to have. The only thing we changed here is the link expiration date, which will allow you to create job offers with a validity period. Okay, so let's say I want to change it to 20 days. I send my offer, and now my offer is sent. Now what you noticed probably is that here on the top of the screen I've got the Smart button. On the Smart button, when I create it, I've got a good overview of the offer in general. I've got the contract templates that has been used, the employer budget, the contract type, the validity date, everything I need to know about this offer. Now another addition we've made is the fact that actually the state here, which is now in progress, will be automatically updated depending on who takes part in the process. So if the applicant actually signs his part of the contract, it's going to go to partially signed. If you as an HR responsible countersign the contract, it's going to go to fully signed, and then of course if it's expired, it's going to go automatically to the expired stage. But that's not all, because as you said, Geoffrey, now it's more robust, and also we've got everything in the chatter on the right side of the screen, and so you can easily exchange information with your internal colleagues that have access to this offer model. Another thing that you can do is of course set activities to be able to follow up these offers, and also receive and catch the messages, the email exchanges that you've got with your candidates, and all of that very easily. Is it all we wanted to show about this?
No, let's show the reporting, because new model seems to bring new reporting.
Indeed, indeed. But right before I go to that, I just wanted to show you also the possibility to refuse an offer. And so you've got also another hidden status. And if you go back here, when you generate the new offer, let's say Kian was not fully happy with the proposition we've made, I can just update my budget here, and I can resend an offer. Now, if I do so, I've got already a good information related to the offer here directly on the applicant, but that's not all. Because here, recruiters will now be able to have a clean follow-up of all the offers and which state they are at. So here, by default, it's grouped by state, but as we saw before, we have many different fields on the model, so you can also play with filters, group bys, anything you like. Here I have a group by state. Let's say I want to remove this. Here I've got a better overview already. And here, let's say I want to group it by job position, for instance. And what I've got here is I've got the average budget for the offers made by job position, which give me already more information related to the employer budget we give for different positions. Now maybe another thing that I wanted to show, let me check here the state again. It's about Meldona here. Meldona basically contacted us also to ask for a salary increase in this proposition. And now, last but not least, of course, since it's a new model, you will be able to insert this into a spreadsheet, for instance, and you could also want to compare your employer budget to the initial budget you allocated initially to the job positions. I think I'm done with this part, so maybe let's go back to the slides. No reason to say no again.
But that's not all, because in every app we always worked on the usability, the user-friendly side, the robustness. In Recruitment we evolved on the job application form, on the front view, like we said, the career page, so you have the same fields but with stronger validations, a LinkedIn profile, and the time to answer. We also improved the Refuse version to have a new display to present it in a more simpler way and a more fastest way, because as usual in recruitment you do the same thing again and again. The user experience, as you can see, has been a little bit increased with always the same topic in mind, user friendliness. And that's all for recruitment. We still have 5 other applications with the same amounts of feature. So, headquarters of any HR services, employee app. In employee app, if I would have to find a catchphrase, it would be display the right information. For those among you who have already seen the keynote of Fabien yesterday, it's a little bit spoiled, I'm sorry, but there are 2 big features, and the first one is the home working feature, remote work feature. In the remote work feature, we work to have a better display of the information. Where are the employees? You can see it directly, and it's mixed with the calendar. Again, Quentin impressed us.
Thank you. So let's jump to the employee application here, and the first thing you will notice is indeed this little icon. So we want it to be very visual so that you know exactly when you're looking at your employee app who is working from which location. And here, for instance, I see that Abigail is working from home. I have the home icon. I see that Anita is working from an office location. I have the building icon, but I can see also that I can manage other types of location with the generic location icon. Now you will tell me, yes, but how do you set up all of this? So let's have a look at that, and we jump directly into the work information tab. Here you've got remote work configuration, and that's here that you will come and specify the default work location for each day of the week, and the schedule will automatically repeat itself each week.
Yeah, but it's easy, but it's the HR office. Let's imagine all those people have to plan something. I don't want to spend so many times on that.
Yeah.
How can they do that?
Yeah, indeed. I imagine that you don't want your HR officers to spend too much time setting all of that. So if you know already Odoo, you know that we've got also the self-editing feature, and the self-editing feature is available under My Profile. So of course, instead of having to set it yourself as an HR officer, you could also ask your people to define the default location and adapt it themselves. Let's say we are now Thursday today, and actually, as from now on, I will not work from home anymore on that day, but I will work from the Louvain-la-Neuve's office, which is becoming my next location for all Thursday.
Yeah, well, let's make it a little bit more difficult, because we are Thursday. No, Thursday I'm at Brussels Expo. It's an exception, it's not every Thursday.
Yeah, indeed, we are working today at the Odoo experience, so it will allow me to show you also how it looks like from the calendar point of view, because there you can also see this information. And if I look at it here, I am Michel, so the yellow color here on the screen, and I can also decide to edit the location, switch it to Brussels Expo here, and set my location. Now, imagine I made a mistake, I don't want to set this location anymore. Super easy, I can just change, delete, and it will go back to the previous default value. Yeah. And I think we are done showcasing this, Geoffrey. I think we are done showcasing this, so let's go back to the slides.
It's good. It's something that you asked for it a lot, so the remote work feature. And the second one is also something that people asked for a lot, and we are pleased to show you the organization chart. So the organization chart is a whole new view that will be available from the 17th, and it's really a pleasure to work with it and to rearrange things.
Okay.
We'll show you.
Let's have a look. So here in the employee app, if you know Odoo, you knew that it was already possible to have kind of an organization chart view from the employee form. So there you could see who are the direct subordinates of Michel, for instance, and who are his indirect subordinates. But we wanted to make something a bit more visual and also easy to use, as usual in Odoo, and that's why we've got this new view, the org chart view, that will allow you to see easily what are the different teams and who is the manager of who. So now, imagine I want to see who is working in Mark Dimu's team. I can just drill down, and I see indeed that, for instance, I've got 4 direct subordinates and also 3 other ones here that are indirect subordinates. But that's not all, because here Charlene decided to change missions, and actually she's got a new team leader. So let's drag and drop her to Tina, and here it opens automatically.
Wow. But why a search bar on the org chart view? How does it work?
Indeed, if you know our demo data, you know that in our company we have the Petersons working. So let's have a look for the Petersons. Check. And here I see that they seem to be at the same level in the organization. Now, if I want to check who is their manager, I can just go one level up. And here, let's say Abigail is actually working for Audrey. So now, if I look at it again, here I see that the view is automatically updated.
Well, as it's a new view, you can consider like the Gantt or the Kanban. It's not the only place where we are going to use it. We're going to use the full power of Odoo to bring that advantage to other models, like for example,
for the departments. So yes, indeed, we thought we could use it also for other models that have a child-parent relationship, and that's why we've also added it here. And from here, as you can see, I created marketing recently, but I forgot to put it into the management. So here, now everything is also back to normal. And you could imagine that since this view has been developed generic, you could also try to use it maybe in the future for other models. Why not for product categories, for instance?
Yes, I heard that in Knowledge they plan to use it too to organize your articles.
Okay.
That was the two biggest features, but that's not all. As somebody knows, as some of you knows, when you've got some activities on records, you can have a white issue, because if the activity is linked to the employee and your employee himself is not a HR officer, he cannot access it. It's something that we struggled with for a lot of years, but now in a generic way, so it's not only on the HR part, you will have a new other activity tab with all the activities linked to records that you don't have access. It will solve employee issue. We can imagine that you have an activity on a fine with fleets. We can think maybe some attendance issue. So all those activities will be stored there, and it's a huge gain of time.
Okay, let's see what's next.
We see that the OCR is able to take skills from the resume into the applicant profile, but in the employee it's the opposite. We create a resume generation that will be able to generate a nice resume standards with color that you customize like you want to give to in some business case, maybe with talent agency like I showed yesterday.
Okay.
That's not all, seriously. We've worked on the signature, so now when a file is signed, it will land into the Documents app. You can choose to send it to the private or the public email. When someone is left the company, maybe you need to send them some private file, and you can update the private email on the fly. We also made a new reporting, because in the employee profile we've got some certification, and the feedback that we got is we have no way to know when the certification is over, who is gonna be over. Now you've got a reporting with a color code to show you directly the right information. That's all, I think.
Yes. So,
and you see, we love them. We love the employee, but we know that you love them too. And the perfect way to know that is to have spontaneous feedback from them, is to work with the Appraisal application. And in the Appraisal application, we improved a lot the usability. The first thing that we changed is by everyone, for everyone. And if I have to find my catchphrase, in this case, it will be breaking the walls. I want to have some mobility. I want to be able to do what I want. And the by everyone, for everyone will allow you to create an appraisal for someone else, not your manager. It's not needed to be part of the process, or on the other one, on someone from your team or the team behind or below.
Okay, so let's go and see that in action. For this, I think the best way to showcase it is to just go and connect with Mark Dimo in this case, because if you remember well, we've seen together in the org chart that Mark Dimo is actually the team leader of 6 people, if I remember well. I don't know, let's check. But here, what you've got is the first view Mark Dimo sees is actually its own appraisals. Now, as you said, Geoffrey, Mark Dimo maybe wants to have, let's say, a formal interview, a formal meeting with someone from HR because he's got some issues with Michel. Prior to this version, it was not possible to basically create a formal meeting request or an appraisal with someone from another team without having your manager being able to access the appraisal request. So here Mark Dimo could easily have a meeting with Tina without having Michel in the loop. Now, then another use case you mentioned is indeed the fact that prior to this version, it was also not possible for Mark to see who are his direct subordinates, but also to organize an appraisal with an indirect subordinate, meaning someone that works 2 levels, let's say, below. As I can see here, I have Anita, her direct manager is Ronnie, but me as Mark, I can also take part now in this appraisal process.
Okay, that's exactly what I wanted to see. But now we create the appraisal. One feature that it's really asked a lot in nowadays is the 360 feedback. And
Yes.
that was something that we had, but as usual, we make it better.
Yeah, so right before we jump to the 360 feedback, also here in this view, we've made sure that the chatter also appears below the screen so that you've got also more flexibility, a bigger screen to use and input the general feedback about the appraisal. So now let's confirm this appraisal and let's say that we want to ask feedback for some people in the company. And here what's changed is that in version 16 you didn't really see what was the email you were sending. So now it's visible first of all, but you can also play with some email templates and you can configure them and save them for later. Now let's say I want to ask feedback from a few colleagues here, for Anita, let's take Beth and also Doris Cole. So here if I send it now, we've got a new smart button. Well, actually it's not fully new, but what's new in the smart button is that you can see immediately who already replied and took part into the appraisal process, which means also for you more convenient to know exactly when you can start organizing the appraisal meeting, because you know that, for instance, 4 out of 4 have answered. Here in my case I just created, so no one answered yet, but I've got a status and I could use my filter to check only the not started yet instead of the completed already, and I can decide to resend also the feedback request to make sure I've got all the information I need for the appraisal date. Okay.
Good.
So, yes?
Well, there is a third thing that I want you to show, is the appraisal plan. The appraisal plan was, again, something which was existing before, but it was totally in the shadow, so I'm sure most of you don't know how it works. But now it's something that we take out from the shadow, we split it into two to give you visibility and control over it. Can you explain us how it works now?
Yes, indeed. So if you know appraisals already, you know that we've got the appraisal plan feature that is set here, and what my appraisal plan will say here is that I want to create automatically a first appraisal 6 months after the recruitment, then again 6 months after, and then every 12 months. Now, once we know that, everything happens on the employee form, because we made it very clear when the next appraisal date should take place, and that's why you see this field over here. Now, according to my plan, it seems that Abigail has no appraisal yet, and the next appraisal should take place on the 30th of April next year. Now, let's quickly request the appraisal from here, confirm it, and mark it as done to today. I see that there is a first appraisal that has been created with the date of today, so that's why my next appraisal date also switched to make sure that we can perform the next appraisal. And if I do it once again, I confirm, I mark it as done, and when I go back, I see that we are exactly in 1 year from now. Yeah, and yeah, I can see definitely how the plan works. Okay.
Yes. And the visibility is there. The control part is that field can be edited.
Yeah, so of course, while previously it was not possible to edit it, now if I'm not happy with this date, I could also ask the system to, for instance, have a next appraisal date in September instead of November next year. And of course, with the automation, Odoo looks 1 time a day when to create the appraisals, and so next time the appraisal will be created right before that date to make sure that we have also time to get some feedback.
Yes, before it was some mechanism that you were running, you don't know what, you don't know when, and sometimes an appraisal has been created. Now you really have control on it.
Okay.
And before jumping to time off, there are a lot of other stuff on appraisal, but you really have a dedicated talk, and I cannot take time to explain everything, so it's Pierre who is going to present it this afternoon, so stay in the room. And now time off. In time off, I would say we will talk about culture. And you will say, culture, why culture? In fact, one stuff that I learned this year about time off is like payroll or accounting. One thing that you think it's true in your country is not in another. The way you work with the days are not the same in another country. So we didn't change everything in time off, but we try to improve the system that we already have to cover all those business needs. Because a lot of you are working with accruals plans, a lot of you are working with very specific cases that don't happen in Belgium, but we really want to be able to answer them. So Let's
Yeah.
see what we've done with accrual plans.
So indeed, for accrual plans, we've done mainly two things here. First of all, let's go to the accrual plans and check how to set it up. So here in my case, I've done quite a simple use case, but we worked first of all on the readability, let's say, to exactly understand what you're trying to do. So here my plan says it's a common use case in Belgium. You earn or you accrue 1 day per month. Now I want my accrued gain time to be or to start at the end of the accrual period. I want my carryover time. Here I can decide basically does it need to be a fixed date, so at the start of the year every year? Does it need to be at a specific date every year, so I could change that as well? Or if I want to, I can also specify it for an individual. And if I want to do so, I will have to take the at allocation date option. In my case, I will keep it to at the start of the year. And if you look at the milestones now, here we've also improved a little bit the screen. I'll just explain first what we see here. So we have kind of a ratio. We can decide, okay, how many days will we accrue? What is the period? Here in the period,
Tell them the hourly is new.
Yeah, indeed. I was about to tell that. So for the hourly, basically, before we couldn't cover the hourly, we had only the daily, and so you had to play with the ratio here to be able to kind of handle the use cases. So now you can select hourly, and you can also decide, to be very precise, is it based on the calendar or is it based on the attendances that we use in the attendance app. In my case, let's go back to the monthly. I don't want to cap the accrued time, so no need to set that up. My milestone will be reached 1 day after the allocation start date, and here for the carryover you can decide whether you want to carry over nothing, whether all accrued time is carried over, or whether you want to carry over with a maximum. In my case, let's keep it this way. Now let's have a look at what happens on the allocation, because on the allocation we also been working on something new, and I really like this. Why? Because now I can select my plan, and if I define a date, let's say the 31 of August here, now Odoo will show me how many days I have accrued until the date of today, which was not the case before, and we had many users and partners that didn't know exactly how to set that all up. So now they've got this vision right before validating the allocation itself. So let's say accrual time off for this. Let's validate. Let's go.
If I can just interrupt you,
yeah.
It was not in the repetition, but I will say it. You can edit that value, so you can solve all the issue about the seniority in your use case. It was 2 days. Let's imagine that you wanted it to start like 2 years ago, but you don't want your employee to start with 200 days. You can just say 0, and the system will just take into account that you are on the right milestone, but with 0 day to start.
Yes, thanks for this addition.
Sorry, continue.
So another thing we have done here is we wanted also to be able to visualize what you will have in the future, and that's why you've got this date picker here, which will allow you to check what are the amount of days that you will have in the future. In my case, I will just select the 1st of December, and here I see that instead of having 2 days, now I've got a new day because I've also worked during November, so 1 day more. And now I can also take these days in the future, so let's take 3 days in this case. Let's say I want to take my accrual time off, I save, and it's validated.
Okay, and I heard something about going into negative in the podcast, I think.
So yes, indeed, this is to cover other kind of use cases you might face. So in this case, I think I'm not gonna work that much during the month of December, and I want to take the last week of December, but also the first week of January. But as you can see, in my time of type balance here, I've got only 5 days left. So how do we solve that? We've allowed to create and to go for negative time off. So if I set it this way, I need to take 10 days. Before I would have got an error telling me that I have no valid allocation to do that. Now I can save it, and I see immediately the change from here. Now let's go a bit further in the flow, and let's say that my HR team have computed my right for time off, and next year they are going to allocate on the 1st of January regular time off or paid time off for my 20 days uh, here and then say legal leaves for 2024 this time. Now if I validate it, I go back here, I check the date and the balance on the 1st of January here, and I see that it's automatically updated, and also for the other types of time-offs.
Okay, so we can see in the past, we can see in the future, and what I wanted to add is that that negative thing is something that you will define on the time of type. So it doesn't mean that you have to set it on on all time of type or on none. It's really up to you to define your own policy. In time off, it was the most biggest thing, but it doesn't mean that we do other things. We worked on the dashboard, we improved the notification system. The overview part is quite important because now you have a quick approval on the dashboard itself, so it's really useful when you come from the employee app. Again, we have a full dedicated tool to time off, again with Pierre, I think.
Yeah, he's
Pierre
doing
is
all
really
the
useful.
tasks.
And he will show you all the use cases. So for us, we jump to attendance. Attendance, there is two big things to say. The first one is the catchphrase, like always, it will be control the data, master the information. And the second one, it's quite easy, we redo everything. Because attendance was a little bit behind compared to the other apps, and we want to tackle some new market where the time control is really, really important. So we say, okay, let's start from scratch and do it again. So it stayed the same, it's still a check-in, check-out system, but we redo it better. So now the system, as you can see, is out of the application. You don't need to go into attendance to check in. It's the first one. Second one is for those who still go to the application to make some reporting, some control, the landing screen is again view with some colors, some useful filters. It's really a game changer for this app. We added a lot more of information. Now we log the way you log into the system. Here it's this way. We log your IP, we log your localization, your GPS coordinates. It's up to you to see what you want to do with those information, but you have it. With new information, we needed a new reporting system, so we rationalize it. Technically, there was a lot of change, and functionally, we want to show you the most useful information from the start. And last but not least, we changed the access right management to be able to give you more flexibility, like for the expense or timesheet. Now, you can define on every employee profile who is really gonna change your attendance.
Okay, so
it's a lot of things. Let's show us.
Yes. So let's start with the Systre mode. So here I've done my job this morning. I've checked in this morning at 8:38, and so that's why you see that I've been working for 5 hours 24 up until now. Now, since I have access rights to the attendance app, I can of course have a look at how it looks like from this point of view. And what I see here, it speaks for itself, I guess. It's that everyone is at work for now. But I see that maybe there is something that seems a bit wrong for Ellie, so we will check that right after. Now let me go back to yesterday. And if you look at yesterday, we see different things on the screen. The first thing you notice is that for Abigail, for instance, thanks to what I see on the left side of the screen, I see that it's in green, but I have a progress bar, so I know exactly that she didn't work for the complete 8 hours I expect her to work. I can only see from this screen for Abigail that she took a lunch break. If I go to Anita, I see that it's in red, and also on the right side of the screen I see that I have a difference in the colors, namely normal gray and also light gray. Light gray stands for overtime. Now for Audrey, we see that she started at 7 a.m. and she ended her day at 7 p.m. But the system tells us it's 11 hours. And why is that? She didn't take any lunch break, but it is because we introduced also in the working schedules the possibility to add the lunch break by default. So that's why it's computed 11 hours. Now another one that we see here on the screen is this one. We've got someone who worked more than 16 hours for that day, and that's why it also appears in red. Now let's jump to the traditional, this is the view you got in the previous version. This is a list view, and let's have a look at maybe the errors, because I saw some errors. So let's filter, and I see that I wanted to check something for Ellie. Here, the first thing you notice is that you've got this chatter possibility, and now you can also communicate internally with the attendance manager of this person, for instance. And here I've asked to Mardimo, can you please check what happened with Ellie, and can you please adapt according to our company policy. That's the first thing. Now the second thing is, what if I want to look only at my attendance here and I want to see the check-in here. Here I've got check-in that has been done with the Systre mode. I've catched the IP address, the browser, but also the GPS coordinates. So if you click on this button here, you are redirected to, I think we are in Palais 7 today, so indeed it detected it correctly. So you've got a good overview and you can see exactly where your people are at. Now, next thing you mentioned, Geoffrey, is indeed the reporting. We did a technical refactoring of the reporting, and here when you enter the reporting now, you get by default a filter on the last 3 months, by week, by employee, which gives you also the possibility to analyze kind of a trend here. While I expect my people to work 40 hours a week, I see that they are all right below, so maybe I need to act on something here. Last but not least, of course, you can also play with different measures, and you could also have a look at the overtime the same way. Now, one thing we didn't mention, it's about the kiosk mode. The kiosk mode is now user-free, so it means, first of all, more security, but also the possibility to launch it on different places and make sure that the people cannot access the database anymore because you don't require a user in order to be able to use it. And I think we are done with the demonstration for attendance, so maybe let's go back to your favorite topic.
Yeah, but before that, just a word on attendance. Improvisation like always. It's mainly thanks to you. So mainly for the German friends that we have among the room, it's mainly thanks to your feedbacks, to the fact that we needed something stronger, something more complete, that we reworked it. So attendance is the perfect proof that even if you think Odoo will never do it, it's too my use case is too complicated because my country is so much complicated. No, we will do it. We will do it because we know that it's mandatory for you to have those functionalities. So never hesitate to make a feedback, never hesitate to come to the booth and say, oh, I would like to see this or this in the future. Yes. And yes, for the last tab, it's my favorite one, always keeping the best for the end, it's the payroll. The payroll, and I know it's a lot of love from you guys because I got a lot of questions. In the payroll, I will talk about localization, but first thing first, we made some improvement to the basic application, to the main structure. So we worked on the extra hours. Now, like you can see, we have our huge working in attendance, and we can generate way much more easier the extra hours. And they will be replicated directly in the working entries in the payroll application. It will be much more easier for you. Last year, same story, we've got some feedback to say, but you know, in my country, I'm not working with SEPA file. I would like to make some manual payment. Now it's possible. On every payslip, with the right configuration, you can have a wizard to make manual payment. And the last that I wanted to show is the reporting content. For those who are already working with the payroll, before it was a list view just behind every report. And in the usual case where you need all your employees, it was easy. If you are in just a specific case where you need one employee or one department or just a set of employees, it was a nightmare. Now we have a new feature which is for all the reports with a smart button eligible employees that will allow you to exploit all the power of the filters, the group by and the search.
Okay.
And they are the big feature that we will show you.
Yes, thanks, Geoffrey. So here, if you attended the talk What's New last year, we've got in the payroll application, of course, this dashboard. And so here I'm going to go to the work entries to be able to see this overtime thing. And what we have done here is to add directly by default the conflicting filter, because we believe that this is the first thing you want to be aware of in order to first work on this kind of conflicts, make sure that they are resolved before you arrive at the end of the month and you have to fix everything too late. So that's why you see it by default. Now another thing that we see here is, since I've been using attendance, remember last year we introduced the possibility on the contract setting to decide what's the work entry source. So it could be working schedule, but it could also be attendances and planning. Now if you use working schedule and you use planning, Odoo will be able, if you use on the side the attendance application, to detect when there is basically a mismatch between the two. And here what you see in blue are basically the overtime working entries that have been generated automatically. So if I click here, I see that Anita, for instance, on the 1st of November, she came a bit earlier in the morning, 1 extra hour. Here the normal working schedule for the other two working entries that I see here. Now the next thing, we are already in November, so let me go to the correction batch for October, because there were two people that I still needed to pay because I had to make some corrections. And here, as you said, Geoffrey, previously, it was not possible to mark the payslips as paid unless you were in a European country where you can actually use the SEPA file. Now let's have a look at this now, and here you've got the register payment button. You get this wizard from the accounting if you recognize it, and you can register the payment right away. So let's do it here. Now we have done our job, and now everything is sent as a payment created into the accounting app, and they will be able to do the reconciliation with their bank statements later on. Now the last thing you wanted to show, Geoffrey, is all about reporting. It's a generic feature. Go back. I will use the example of the individual accounts. So here, to gain some time, I've already generated and created the PDF files for this. But as you explained very well, previously when you landed into the screen, you had to go through all the list and remove one by one the persons and the people that you don't want it to actually use. Now it's very easy. I can filter, for instance, for Michel, but I also want Mark Demo. I've got those two. I could just post the PDF into the document application, and it's done. I could also save some favorite filters and say, okay, I want to do it by department, and in this case, I've got my R&D department. I can just post, and my documents are being posted into the documents application. I think that's it for the demonstration for me, so let's go back to our slide here, and I think you've got something.
Localizations.
No?
No. Again, much more. We had other stuff. We had a payslip viewer. We worked on the structure management. So if you go into the configuration now, it's much more easier to manage the structure with the new one. We've got a set of rules by default. When you duplicate, you have all your rules. It's much more easier. On the salary attachment, another feedback that we got from a country, now you can create salary attachment for a lot of employees on the same time, and it's much more powerful. And then we talk about localizations still. So as you can see, we've worked on localization like every year, and it's keep growing and growing. In blue, it's the one that I released officially and that we are working on. This year we released United States, Mexico, we released Australia, we released Switzerland, we worked on Poland, we worked on Netherlands. On some of them we've got some local offices, and we are working with them. On some others, like for example Netherlands, we base ourselves on common knowledge, and we are always looking for partners. And even if your country is not in blue or not even in green, contact us. Just say, I want to have a localization in payroll in, I don't know, South Africa, or I saw a talk yesterday on Peru. Contact us and say, let's work together and find a solution. In green, they are the ones that we want to tackle. So we are working already on Brazil because we got an office, Spain, Italy, Germany, and for example, UK and France, we don't have an office, but we know that those markets are really eager for payroll localization, and we want to answer that need. So again, come and come and come. Nothing of this would have been possible without our dev team. So those are all the people working on your apps. They disagreed to use the photo, but I want to say a big thank you to them, and they will see that on YouTube after. And you can see them at the booth in the other palace. There is a dev team, so you can meet them and ask your question. Join us. Like I say, feedbacks are really valuable, so don't hesitate. It's really the best part of the Odoo experience to talk with you. Thank you. If you have some question, I don't know which timing we still have.
It's perfect timing, I guess.
Perfect timing?
Yeah,
good.
We have time for questions.
So many times.
Yes?
Okay, thanks to you.
Hello and congrats. Can you hear me?
Not really. Come closer.
Yeah.
So I've got some questions from the pad. The first one is regarding the chart. Is the chart integrated with other services? For example, an employee applies for vacation. Does it automatically alert the manager in the chart for approval?
You mean in the organization chart view, probably?
Yes.
Well, and the question is about if someone applies, do I get this information
This alert
directly,
from a manager, for example?
No, because this is just a view of the employee application, so there you don't get any notification, but you will be notified in the recruitment application and business as usual. It's in recruitment that all of this happens.
Yes, and by default we made that the org chart view, like you see, there is a drag and drop. The drag and drop is only available for the HR officer. So you can use the org chart view with the employee public model, but in this case you cannot change it. Otherwise it would be a mess if every employee starts to play with his position. So we assume that if you do it, you know what you do.
Okay, thank you guys. Regarding the recruitment application, can we integrate it with LinkedIn?
Yes,
Our favorite question.
I would like to.
Yes.
In fact, we decided to do it. We decided to integrate with LinkedIn, with Indeed, with Glassdoor, with all those job boards. The stuff is that all of them have one major requirement, is to be a technical partner. And to be a technical partner, you need to fill a form, you need to contact them, and just they need to say yes. So at the moment, it's not up to me. The only thing I can do is sending them emails to say, please work with us. And at that moment, our goal, our final goal, is to be able, when you create a job position, to have a dedicated wizard to say, post it on LinkedIn, post it on Jobdoor, and stuff like that. So we want to, and I hope that for the next version, I've got some better news to share with you.
Yes, but the process is already started. That's the first thing, and also we've got the possibility to use trackers, which allows you to at least have some reporting, interesting reporting about where you post your job positions. You use a tracker. In the tracker, we know exactly this candidate came from LinkedIn, this other one came from Monster, for instance, and you've got already some useful information in terms of return on investment, but also maybe as a recruiter to just know, okay, where are my developers coming from? So is it better to use LinkedIn or is it better to use another platform? So that's already possible.
All right, perfect. Thank you for answering those questions. Regarding the attendance application now, does the user have to allow the geo-tracking? Is it legal?
Yes, the user has to allow it. Yes.
When you check in with your browser, you will have a pop-up. Do you want to record your localization? And you can say yes or no. And a question that we got previously on the booth is, can we uncheck? Can we make it not to record all those information? The answer is no. If you can choose to uncheck the attendance system in the backend. So it means that we only create them manually. But if you uncheck it, so you have no information. At least, as soon as you check, as soon as you go into the system, we will record all those information. But you can say no, it will be GPS 000.
Indeed.
All right, thank you. Now, still regarding the attendance application, question about portal and being a user. Using the portal, can you use the attendance feature even without the employee being a user?
Yes, indeed. You can, if you have. Well, you cannot use it with the check-in, check-out system in the system. But if you have, let's say, a tablet at the front door of your building, you can, you will do identify myself, and you will have your employee with a PIN code, and then the employee don't need to be a user.
Yeah, that's all about the kiosk mode. But if the question is more about, I want to be the attendance manager and to be able to play with the attendances of the persons in my team, well, for this use case, you have to be a user to be an attendance manager, for instance.
All right, and can you control or limit the geographical location from where the user is checking in and out?
No, at the moment, no. So we made it totally based on our first feedback, and I think that like the Payroll or like other applications, now that we have that strong attendance, which what I don't think it was used a lot. I think that we've got a lot of feedbacks like this one. It's something that we heard already. And I think that we will still improve it a lot. So at the moment it's not possible, but why not in the future?
All right, perfect. Hopefully in the future then. Will we have easy integration with fingerprint machines like, I'm sorry for the name, I don't know it, it's Sketchco? Also we have a lot of requirements for clients in Middle East for this.
I think we've got that question a lot, also at the HR booth. I think it's really a use case that is certainly present in some countries. If I'm not mistaken, Geoffrey, we don't plan to do that in standard of Odoo.
We didn't plan. We asked that question to management last year because we had it. And in Europe, it was not really GDPR compliant because unless you work in some pharmaceutical company, it's not easy. But in Middle East, it's really needed. So I think we will tackle it again, maybe through a localization for attendance. Why not? We made one localization for time off, so maybe not for attendance. And add some additional. We got a lot of feedbacks from Africa too about the facial recognition. So why not?
Yeah, it's definitely not impossible to do. It's just for now it's not.
Everything is possible with Odoo anyway. Is there special treatment for working time at night? For example, work at night has to be counting double and so on.
We've
That's
got
more
a task.
payroll question.
Yeah, we've got a task for that because at the moment the overtime, every overtime will be treated at one. Only one setup, one work entry type. You can manually say that, like we say with the blue square, you can say, okay, this blue square, I will identify it to another work entry type. And as long as you have various work entry type, you can define specific rules on it. So it's possible, it's not a workaround, it's something that you can do already. Maybe it's not the most efficient way, don't fall. It's not the most efficient way, but we've got something on the road to already have a display. Live, you have the work days, you will have the extra hours display, and it will be much more easier to define special rates.
Yeah, this was the first step. So last year you had to encode everything manually, and from now on, as we shown, you can compare attendances, and you will get at least a little square telling you, okay, you have to work on this and to qualify this kind of overtime.
Yeah. So let's wait for Odoo Experience 17.1 or .2. Okay,
perfect. I think that was it for the attendance application. Now let's jump into the payroll application. Do you adapt the application for the Horeca with negative and positive hours?
For which country?
For Horeca.
For the Horeca. Horeca and Belgium. In Belgium, the issue is that there is really an issue on the market with the fact that every people think that you need to go through Group S, Sodexo, not Sodexo, which one? SD Works, Group S, and the third one?
Social Security.
Social Security.
Yeah, Acerta, Group S.
And so on. So in fact, it's complicated because the Belgian market is very broad. There is a lot of CP. We are on CP 200, but there is so many of them. And the Horeca CP is not something where we got a lot of feedback, so it's a lot of work for not always a lot of revenue. So it's complicated. I don't say we don't do it, but at the moment the other CP in Belgium are not the highest priorities in the bucket, let's say. And even with new mechanism, I think the person who asked that question, the best thing that I can answer you is come to me after to the booth and just explain me totally what you need. Because at the moment I don't even know what exactly we need with the negative hours and stuff like that. So come, explain your need, and we will see how we can find a solution. And if we need to develop something, I think we will. I don't know when, but we will.
Okay, thanks again. Can you automatically email payslips to all employees after the payment is registered?
Yes, of course. The thing is, when we generate the payslip, if you're working with Odoo, there is already a mechanism that is integrated with our documents application. So basically what you do is you set up an HR folder within the documents application, and on this folder you say, I want every internal user to be able to have access to this folder, but only to its own documents. And so the payslips are generated, they are sent to the documents application, but you can see only the documents that are yours. That's the first thing. And now the second thing, it's another use case we've covered this morning in the tips and tricks, is the fact that if you leave the company, at some point you still need your documents. So for that use case, when you archive a user or if you go on an employee, you're also able to send this portal link to a private email address, and you can even edit it on the fly, so it's always available even if you leave the company.
All right. Now questions about the country. It's Germany, Austria, and do you already know when the German localization is coming?
For the German localization, we would have liked to release it for version 17, but like I say, the issue was that on the time management we were really behind. And what's the first thing that I learned in Germany is that time management is really a must-have solution. So now we started. We already started to discuss with our German office, and it will be ready, I think, in a minor version. And so for customers who are on the SH or on premise, it will be for version 18, but it's for the next version maximum.
All right, thank you. Jeffrey, question for you. In your podcast and about the Mexican localization, it was mentioned. I mean, you talked about it. Do you have a release date yet?
It's already released. So the first step, we can say localization is always 3 steps. The first step is a monthly computation. Second step is about reports and specific use case. And the third step will be, if needed, with some connectors to the government. In the case of Mexico, we work with our Mexican office, and we already have a module, a localization that you can install with the first step, the monthly computation. I think it's quite good. We don't have the reports yet. We will work on this year, and I know that in Mexico, it's typically one of those countries where you need to have the official connectors to the government, because you cannot just upload a file. So it's on the roadmap, and for next version it will be done. But already you can start a version 17, install the localization and play with it a little bit, just to check that the rules are convenient and that we are not missing one thing or another.
Right, thanks. And regarding Switzerland now, when SwissDec certification for that country?
I don't know how many of you are from Switzerland, but there are so many, it's unbelievable. So for the SwissDec, I will answer the same thing. I think that next week or in 2 weeks, I've got my first meeting with SwissDec, and we will try. That's the only answer that I can give. We will try. Maybe they will say no because we don't have an office in Switzerland. Maybe they will say no because we are an ORP or open source. Maybe they will say yes, and in this case we will continue. And I know from what I heard, I went to an HR fair in Switzerland, and it's about 1,700 business cases that you have to solve in 1 year. And we will try. We will try. That's my goal. I want to say yes instead of no every time. So I want to say, okay, we will do it, and I hope we will achieve it. And unfortunately, if it's not, if they say you don't have a Swiss Swiss office, so no, at that point you will have a nice localization which is already working, which is already in 17, that you can use, you can test it, there are some reports on it, there is all the health insurance system, you can use it, it's just that we don't have the stamp of the certification. But it's my goal.
Maybe something I wanted to add here, because a lot of people ask us about localizations, and of course it's part of what Geoffrey wants to do. But we have a very interesting talk about working entries and the way you can handle payroll without having to generate also the payslip, to how Odoo can help you basically to handle the working entries, and that's very important. And Nicola is here in the room, so attend his talk, and we'll explain you everything about it.
So finger crossed for your first meeting with the SwissDec. Now, still regarding payroll, for payslips, is there a way to select which information is printed by selecting specific fields in standard in the context of legal requirements?
Yes. For every country we define a Canva for the payslip, so the payslip will not be the same for, let's say, Kenya or Germany. But for the rules, because the payslip it's a lot of rules, you can choose on every rules there is a checkbox appear on payslip or not. So you create rules, that's what you use in Belgium, with all the employer cost, because you need it in your salary journal, but those rules won't appear on the payslip for the end user.
That's for the rules indeed, but we know also about some other requirements. In France, for instance, they want to display the number of days of time off that has been taken and this kind of stuff. So for that part, I don't believe we have something to be able to completely edit the...
No, it's not a field. It's something in the localization that we say we display this or this.
Yes.
All right. And last question about the payslip. Is it possible to publish the payslips on the web portal?
That's someone from France, or what do you mean? Web portal, maybe you can specify what you mean by web portal?
For portal user, I
Yes,
assume.
I guess the person is asking if it's not a user, but
if it's not a user, it's the same use case. I mean, you can maybe use the documents application and share a portal link, and it will do the job.
All Right. Let me check if we have more questions. Yes. Regarding, again, recruitment. So how does the OCR define the level of applicant skills?
I thought I've shown this, maybe I didn't really tell it, but the default level is set on the skill type. So when you are going to your skill type, down below you can define the levels and you can set what is the default level. The OCR will only detect what's the skill and it will apply automatically the default level. Of course, in the recruitment process, and that's business as usual, as a recruiter, you will still qualify what's the level for this person, even if the person will say, I am fully fluent or I am a perfect Python developer, doesn't mean that you qualify it as a perfect Python developer. So here you can just apply a default level and then according to your qualification you just adapt it if needed.
All right. Thank you. I see that we have 3 questions more, but do not hesitate to ask them during the MAA session.
We have an AMA session, we are at the HR booth, so we have definitely some time to answer other questions.
So thank you guys for this wonderful presentation.
Thanks to all of you.
Thank you very much for attending.